I ride the wave. And if I find out that I wake up and I'm feeling super creative and very focused, I'll shift my day and I'll take that work that I was planning on doing in the afternoon. I'll put it in the morning in between meetings because I just know that I've got to ride the energy however it flows that day. I can't control it.
Entrepreneurs, we're bringing back a friendly face. She opened us up with our all-star panel. If you missed that show, no worries. I'll drop it in the description. She brought her A game and introduced a lot of cool things like her awesome podcast, how she's really focusing on fractional work to help so many entrepreneurs. And of course, we're going to get an update on that project at LaGuardia. So with that, let me welcome you back, Sheila, to That Entrepreneur Show.
Hi, it's so nice to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Of course, I'm very excited to bring a guest back who delivered her A game and gave so many free tips and value where I expect nothing different today. But everyone, thanks again for tuning in and keeping That Entrepreneur Show a top 2.5% global show from Listen Notes. My name is Vincent A. Lancy, and we can't do this without you, the listeners. I hope your first quarter went amazing. I'd love to hear about it. Email us and we'll feature you on a show. Danica is at podcastsbylancy@gmail.com. And for today, as I mentioned, Sheila's got her podcast to talk about, some cool updates there. But we're going to start with the LaGuardia project because as I talked about in college at UT, flying there was a nightmare. There were always delays and construction and things. So update us about what the project is in case they missed that first show and then the updates.
So it's been amazing. By the way, thinking about just being a solopreneur, the opportunity to work with LaGuardia Terminal B and their team. I don't know if people have flown through there, but it's a stunning terminal. And it's not what you think of when you hear the word LaGuardia, right? To your point, it had a connotation based upon previous experiences that people have, but they've renovated the terminal a few years ago now. It's stunning. And so they needed a commercial marketing campaign that reflected the energy and the vibrancy of the terminal that really highlighted the brands that are a part of the terminal in terms of restaurants and shops. And so we initially focused on 10 of the concessionaires, as they call them, and telling their story in a way that roots them back to the boroughs of New York. So there are 5 boroughs. 4 of them are represented within the terminal, just based upon the mix of brands that are there.
Sure.
And so when I first started working with them, we focused on the strategy first, and then they wanted the creative campaign. And I said, you know what? In order to do the creative campaign right, we really need to go through my Butler Brand Bootcamp process because that seeds the brand strategy. And so the first thing that I do in bootcamp, assuming that you've got some consumer insights, is that we work on the competitive framework. So I literally draw 2 lines and I say, okay, what quadrant do we want to play in? But you have to define the lines, so the X and Y axes. And so one of them ended being, if I'm a traveler, I have either an excess amount of time in the terminal or a very limited amount of time. And think about it, we're all in a different space when we're at the airport. Someone's arriving, someone's departing, someone's on a layover. And so the experience is very specific and individual for each person. Just that alone, thinking about the excess time and then the short amount of time, as well as then the higher perceived value of the experience, started to set that framework. And then we went through my brand mountain, as I call it, and we defined the core identity. So the 4 brand pillars that are the reasons to believe the brand promise. And 2 of those pillars ended up being local legends of New York, because you're bringing the boroughs into the terminal experience. And a lot of the brands are not well known unless you're a New Yorker. You don't know Zorro's Family Bakery and their black and white cookies and their amazing coffee. So the line for Wendy's is really long. And then, but what about the other concessionaires? So we want to tell the story of the concessionaires. And then another element around that ended up being the individualized experiences, because again, we're all in our different space. And so we called that a chapter in your travel story. Everyone's there just for a chapter. And so then when we worked on the brand promise, it became this concept of make the most of your New York minute. It's a common phrase. And so it's a really short minute or a really long minute. And so that stepped back to that whole competitive framework, right? Oh, and by the way, so then we said, what's the end result of the promise? It's the New York Minute, your way at your pace. And then we said that the unique point of difference for the concessionaires within the terminal is that they're unexpectedly New York. They're beautiful views of the skyline, depending upon where you sit and grab a coffee or a glass of wine or an omelet. The people are incredibly friendly. Again, the terminal is stunning. The mix of brands and the things that you can eat or shop for are all very localized for the boroughs. So all that work meant that when we went to do the creative work, it just fell into place. And so we ended up having this scrapbook style design for the marketing campaign, going back to that whole it's my travel story. And people back in the day would have these scrapbooks and pencil sketches, and you would layer different pictures on top of one another, and you'd have phrases. And so some of the work looks like almost like a postcard, like sending long distance hugs from New York and wish you were here. And so working the brand strategy first made so much more sense than diving into the creative. Otherwise, the creative wouldn't have been seated. It just would have been pretty, but it wouldn't have been effective. And so now we're looking at the numbers and saying, did we move the needle? We've launched more brands since then. And now there are placements within the terminal to where we tee up that whole story of the New York Minute and unexpectedly New York in different ways. So I'm super excited. They've been amazing to work with.
I love hearing all these updates, and everyone, if you enjoyed that just vision of seeing this come to life, be sure to stick around to the end of the show to learn how to get her involved in your work, elevate you, and take you to the next level. But something she's been doing to take her brand to the next level is what we're doing now, diving into podcasting. She's got an awesome show. I love to let you take it away.
Thank you. So it's called Marketing Over Bourbon. You're so much more seasoned than me. I tell you what, like when I started this thing, which was my first show launched March of 2025, but I taped all 12 shows in January and February, just back to back, just people in the studio. By the way, the optimal number of episodes is 3 for me taping in a day. I taped 4 in a day. I got a little giggly towards the end because there is bourbon involved as we're talking, right? So most of the people are former Disney, aka sort of life after Disney and the lessons that we learned there since I started my career there, but also sometimes Disney adjacent people. So they somehow have a connection to Disney, even though they didn't necessarily work there, but they've somehow interact with them. And they tell their stories. It's really a way to highlight that person and their business. But we tell stories and leadership and career lessons, and then we land some marketing beats along the way because there's always something around brand essence, brand promise, strategy, etc., that we can layer in. And then we're sipping bourbon. So it's been very fulfilling for me. I love hearing everyone's stories. And I've really enjoyed it. It's led to some client work, which is the whole point. It's not for me to have a million views and followers on YouTube and Spotify and everywhere else. It's really as a platform to talk about what I know and what I can share and what I can bring to clients. So I'm excited that it's delivered on that desire.
So many amazing points, but first, she's being very modest. She's a fantastic host, and be sure to go download that podcast. She has a lot of hard work, but some of the things I do want to highlight here is you batch recorded, right? And I love that, where for clients that come on with us, we don't like to release until you have 6 recorded. Why? We want to build that algorithm and whatever works best for you. Sometimes it's monthly, sometimes it's weekly, bi-weekly, you name it. In podcasting, there's no one size fits all. Every show is unique. All goals are different, right? I wrote, I want to start a podcast because I went into it blind. I didn't listen to a show before. I wanted it to be unique. And then there's just countless mistakes that I talk about in that book. So thank you for bringing that up. And if someone wanted to work with you today, who would you say your target customer is? Like, who can you add the most value to? I know you scale as high as LaGuardia Airport, but
Yeah.
where's your bread and butter?
Honestly, it has been the bigger clients. One of my clients is a real estate development consulting firm in the Chicago area, and they've been around for almost actually 20 years now.
Wow.
Incredible team of people. My target audience, honestly, is the C-suite. There's so many CEOs who need guidance. They may not have the rationale for why they need a full-time chief marketing officer or why they need brand strategy or marketing strategy, but often they don't know how to define that North Star that you need to set the vision for the organization. Often they don't understand how to build out the marketing strategy and how it starts with the business goals and the business objectives. If I want to get from 10 million to 16 million as a business, There are a lot of things that need to go into that. What are the ingredients that your marketing strategic roadmap needs in order to do that? And it's interesting thinking about the C suite. There was a guy that I had on my show, Jeff Larson, who's also a chief marketing officer.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how do you allocate your marketing budget? And we were talking about how 70% needs to go to that bread and butter base marketing that you know works and you're going to get your return on investment, right? I put in $1, I'm going to get 10 or 100 back. And then 10% of those dollars can go towards innovation to where if it doesn't work out, hey, it was only 10% of my marketing budget, so I'm willing to just give it a fly. But you're going to learn some lessons. And then you take what lessons you learned. The next year, you invest 20% of your dollars into those things that you proved out. So that's an incubator. And then constantly like test, learn, refine as you go forward. There are a lot of things that, especially if you're an entrepreneur who started a business and you maybe not worked in corporate America, you haven't had the benefit of large scale organizations with large training and development and leadership acceleration programs and so forth. And fortunately, I've had the benefit of doing that throughout my career in many different industries. So I bring a unique perspective.
Yes, and I love the perspective that stemmed all the way back from Disney because we see how that brand is not only sustainable, but a worldwide global leader. If you don't mind, would you mind sharing a lesson learned or two from your Disney days that you were able to now apply to this amazing venture you're working on?
Yes. So, well, actually, a lot of the branding work that I still use today, I started to learn because Disney was rolling out the brand strategy work on defining the brand essence and how each park is different and why each guest should go to it. It's not just, oh, more roller coasters and shows and characters and whatever. They all are very different. But backing it up, even before I went into marketing, I started in entertainment. And so I was stage managing performances within the parks and worked on about 60 special events. What I can tell you from those experiences is that I had to learn to think on my feet. So you plan, and then the day comes, and it's just you're off to the races, and you have no control over what's happening. And I tell you what, something is not going to go according to plan. And so you have to have the presence of mind to think on your feet and to pivot and to have that gut instinct. That's what I learned from entertainment.
Yeah, I love that. And that applies to almost every day for me, either something as simple as this process to come on here on that entrepreneur show. It says, hey, please accept the calendar invite so we don't waste each other's time, right? We want to make sure we're on the same page. People don't do that, so we push them to the next podcast block. And then I'll be trying to be made feel like the bad guy where I know people get busy. It's not intentional, but as a podcast host, sometimes people don't show up and we can use that 30 minutes or an hour on something else because
Yeah.
entrepreneurs all know there's not enough hours in the day. So having systems like that in place helps me. Would you mind sharing one of the systems you have in place as an entrepreneur to help out our audience?
Oh my goodness. So my energy level, typically I peak my energy level in the afternoon. I'm a night owl. So for me, like I'm happy that I have verbal skills this morning as you and I are talking because I'm still getting warmed up. I will plan my day based upon the meetings that I have for clients and networking and podcast guesting and what do I need to do for my show, etc. But because I have that background of pivoting when I need to pivot, I ride the wave. And if I find out that I wake up and I'm feeling super creative and very focused, I'll shift my day and I'll take that work that I was planning on doing in the afternoon. I'll put it in the morning in between meetings because I just know that I've got to ride the energy however it flows that day. I can't control it.
I love that. And again, it's never going to be the same every day, but it's not going to be what you anticipate from start to finish very often. What do you have going on for this year? Is there anything exciting year end, summer that we can look out for?
Oh my goodness. So a lot more client work and growing my show. Mine is only once a month because we're shooting it in a professional soundstage in Orlando with 3 cameras and a teleprompter. So it takes a great deal of editing and prepping of the show and all the questions and the teleprompter and the teaser and the opening and the closing and all that stuff. So I think it's going to be a good balance of those two things. I'm so excited for the year. I tell you what, last year I did not know what was going to happen. I had a handful of clients. By the end of the year, I had too many clients. And I was like, oh my God, I'm sprinting a marathon. I do hope that somehow this year I can figure out how to roll that back a little bit because working 6.5 days a week throughout the entire year and the year before, it's not sustainable from an energy level perspective, right? And I'm really good at doling out advice on give yourself some grace and take a break. I'm really horrible at actually listening to myself.
Oh
So
my
I don't know.
gosh.
I think it's going to be a really big, super fun surprise throughout
And
this year.
you said that perfectly. I think many entrepreneurs are also guilty of working 6 days, 7 days a week. I had my aha moment back in graduate school when I'm recovering, going 7 days a week. And then I drove my car off of the road a little bit. No one was hurt. I was fine. I was able to pump, but overwhelmed. And then with the brain injury at the time being so fresh, there was a lot of there. So now my mental health day, as I call it, right? Sometimes it's a half a day, but during football season, it's Sunday for my Jets, right? It may not be good for my mental health, and I've shared that before, but it's a time where my computer is closed. I've got my buffalo wings, I'm hanging out, and I'm not working. So trying to find those intentional times where I'm not working has been a game changer for me to avoid burnout. But I want to ask you this question to see if it changed from your first show, how we end the shows here. If you could choose an entrepreneur, dead or alive, to talk with at this point of your journey as you're flooded with clients, who would it be?
I probably said Walt Disney before. It's still going to be him. Just someone who constantly knew how to iterate and extend your brand into many different ways, but still keeping that emotional connection and relevance of the brand. So, yeah, that would be fascinating to me.
And before I let you go here, say there's someone tuning in, loves what you're doing, loves what you stand for, and they want to be a guest on your show. What is the criteria for someone to be a guest on your show? And then, of course, we'll get the contact info in just a moment.
Yeah, for sure. So I do try to stick to people who somehow have worked with Disney at some point in time in their career because it is such an integral part of the show and a very large company. So there have been a ton of people who've somehow spent part of their career at Disney. So that would be one piece of it. Choose someone who's really great and energetic on camera, who's got some great stories to share, and someone who can make their way to Orlando because it is taped in a studio. So when you say all those things, I take this very broad funnel and I suddenly make it very small, which is why it's also hard. I totally resonate with you about scheduling guests and then conflicts come up. Life happens.
Yep.
And then you're trying to figure out, I got to find someone else. What do I want to talk about? The thing is that marketing is so transferable in terms of the marketing principles can be applied to industrial engineering, HR work, leadership, operations, etc. That a lot of my guests are not deep in marketing. In fact, I've got some people on the show this year and we're talking bourbons and how do you write those bourbon notes? How do I know as a consumer what am I going to enjoy? How do you pair bourbons with things? So I'm trying to balance a little bit more between the marketing side and the bourbon side, again, to broaden my audience. Because again, I know that the people who are going to hire me are C-suite people, and many of them enjoy a nice sip of bourbon along the way.
I love it. So everyone, say you're in Orlando or maybe you're going to Disney World, right? While you're in town, we're going to have you find out where to find Sheila in just a moment. But I want to thank everyone so much for tuning in, thanking this great guest for coming on again, being a loyal supporter of this show, and in turn helping everyone learn from her amazing journey. Please remember to subscribe to stay current so you wouldn't miss today's show. But Sheila, where can we find you online, company, podcast, all things?
Yep, absolutely. So they can go to butlermg.com. It stands for Butler Marketing Group, logo behind me. And they can find me on LinkedIn. It's Sheila Butler. And then my show is where people enjoy watching or listening to podcasts. You can go to YouTube and look up Marketing Over Bourbon, but Apple, Spotify, I don't know, you name it.
Yeah, thank you. Make sure you subscribe to her podcast right as you're listening to this. Put it on speaker, go in the podcast directory, click the plus button, so you can get a taste of what she has. And everyone, my name is Vincent A. Lancy. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We're brought to you by Coming Alive Podcast Production.com. And this time we're signing off. Tampa, Orlando. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode. I would love to hear your feedback. What did you love? What do you want to see more of? Are there any questions you would like me to ask the guests who come on the show? This show is not possible without you, the amazing listeners, so please email us at podcastsbylancy@gmail.com and let us know what you think. We'll also feature you on a later show. Please remember to subscribe to stay current with our amazing community of guests who will continue to come on the show, sprinkled in with solo episodes from me, Vincent A. Lancy. With that, I look forward to introducing more shows to you each and every week. And with that, we're signing off today. Enjoy the episodes and make it a great day ahead.